Hello and welcome to Conversations with Sahar. Today we're going to talk about why clear communication begins with how you think. Your thinking process reveals who you are. That's why the way a person thinks tells me who they are and whether I can trust them. This has also been the reason that I said yes when my late husband proposed. I don't mean whether they agree with me. I mean how they have arrived at the decision and what they believe in, how they interpret information, how they respond when something challenges them, whether they reflect before they react or just react, whether their words and actions are congruent. I can learn a great deal about someone by listening to what they say, how they say it, and the words they choose. But I learned far more by understanding how they reached that decision. When I met my husband, I understood how he thinks. I knew how he approached life, responsibilities, and important decisions. Knowing his thinking process allowed me to trust the person behind the words. Communication isn't only about speaking clearly. It is about knowing who is doing the speaking and whether they're authentic or not, whether it rings true to you or not. The truth is, communication begins before we speak. I recently posted some short Arabic clips from my previous Unbox coffee break on social media. I noticed that the viewership went up. New followers followed. It made me think about communication. For sure, the language we use matters. The way we present ideas matter. People respond when they recognize themselves in a message and feel that it speaks directly to them. But communication begins much earlier than that. Before we communicate an idea, we would have already processed it. Our body would have responded. Our emotions would have risen. And our mind would have interpreted what has happened. Our beliefs would influence how we interpret a situation or a bunch of information. Only then we decide what we're going to say or what we're going to do about the situation or what decisions we're going to make. By the time the words leave our mouths, the entire process has already taken place. If we don't understand that process, we may believe that we are communicating clearly, when really what we're doing is we're communicating a reaction, not a response. I'd like to tell you about the mentor that showed me how I think. More than 30 years ago, I met a very special mentor. We later became very good friends. Sadly, he passed away a few years ago. One of the most valuable things he told me was to describe how I think. He explained my thinking process so accurately, it surprised me. I recognized myself immediately, yet I was not consciously aware of how I thought until then. I knew what I thought. I didn't necessarily know how I arrived there. There is an important difference between our thoughts and our thinking process. Our thoughts are what happens in our brains. Our thinking process is the pattern through which we notice, connect, interpret, and assess information. It shapes the questions we ask. It affects the details we notice. It influences what we accept and what we doubt and what we overlook, more importantly. My mentor was able to stand outside that process and reflect it back to me. That gave me a different level of self-awareness. It has also influenced the way that I work with people since then. Let's talk about learning to recognize patterns. When I work with someone, I listen to more than what they're just telling me. I listen to the pattern behind it. I notice how they connect the events. I listen to what they repeatedly emphasize and what they avoid. I notice where their words and their emotions and their actions support one another and where they contradict each other. Those patterns help me identify where someone may be out of alignment or stuck and why. A person may say that they want change, but their body tightens every time a change becomes possible. They may say they want a relationship that is right for them, while their emotions repeatedly tell a different story. They may know exactly what action is needed, but hold a belief that prevents them from doing so because it's a belief that is stuck in the past. The difficulty is that we are often too close to our own patterns to be able to recognize them. We don't stand back far enough. We experience the same thoughts regularly that they become like truths to us. We repeat the same responses until they appear part of our personality. False personality. We communicate from those patterns without even realizing that we are, without realizing that they are shaping the words we use. Let's talk about clarity through the 4 dimensions of change. Clarity doesn't happen all at once. It develops gradually as we become more aware of our own makeup, which I refer to as the 4 dimensions of change. The first is the body, and it has its own language. It communicates through physical sensations, energy, ease, tension, instinctive responses. We need to learn how our body communicates back to us. The second dimension is emotions. Emotions tell us an experience is affecting us, positively or negatively. But we need enough awareness to distinguish our feelings from our thoughts, to understand what is being triggered by an earlier experience or is it happening right now. The third dimension is the mind and belief system. This includes thoughts, assumptions, beliefs through which we actually interpret life. It is also where we begin to recognize our own thinking process. We learn how to organize information and we create meaning from what happens to us. The fourth dimension is accountability to action. Awareness needs to be applied. Awareness needs to influence what we choose to say and do. Otherwise, we can understand ourselves very well, but keep on repeating the patterns ad nauseum. These 4 dimensions form what I call or refer to as the BEMA methodology: body, emotions, mind, accountability. When we are aligned, communication becomes clearer naturally. We are no longer saying one thing but feeling another. We are no longer believing something but doing another. Our communication begins to reflect our whole person, our whole awareness, if you like, the level that we have reached. So, why do we seek mentors? I believe this is the main reason people seek mentors. It is not because they're incapable of thinking for themselves. It is because it is difficult when something is so familiar to you to stand far back enough and notice the pattern that you've been living through. A mentor can help you see things differently, with a different mindset. A good mentor doesn't tell you what to do or who you need to become. They notice patterns, contradictions, repeated responses, and any signals that you may have overlooked which pushed you out of alignment. Once you can see that patterns, you'll never be able to unsee it. You can begin to navigate and lead your own life by yourself. You can listen differently to your body. You can understand the emotions that have been triggered and whether you are reacting or responding. You can take an action that reflects who you are now rather than repeat an old response based on how or who you thought you were. That is where clarity begins, when all the 4 dimensions are working in synergy. And the outcome is clear communication. Clear communication isn't simply the skill to apply words or how you sound or how you speak. It's the outcome of understanding and integrating the different parts of your makeup. When we know how we think, how we process information, how our decisions are shaped, When we understand our emotions, we are less likely to blame or hold other people responsible for them. When we listen to the body, we recognize information that the conscious mind may have missed. When our actions support what we say, then people can trust our communication. They are not only listening to our words, they are experiencing alignment. Before asking, how can I communicate better? Perhaps we need to ask a more important question. Do I understand how I have arrived at what I'm trying to communicate? Would you like to take this conversation further? If this conversation has helped you recognize something about your own thinking process, you can continue to this growth journey on your own. Please visit my Buy Me a Coffee page and you will find guided meditations, self awareness tools that make you recognize patterns that you're not aware of in a few minutes. They will help you to move forward with insight before you take action. Here's what a client said recently. She sent me this actually. Sahar's meditations shift my energy in a few minutes. I sense an immense sense of release whenever I participate or practice in any of them. Just like her mentoring sessions and her teachings, it takes a few minutes to rewire, reset, and change how you feel. This is so powerful. The meditations are also a powerful tool, knowing that you will be okay at any time. Sahar teaches you that you can reset in seconds and that you are in full control. Whether it's through her meditations, books, her group sessions, or one of her mentoring sessions, her focus is on putting you in the driver's seat and in control of your life, which I find very empowering. Buy me a coffee/Unbox with Sahar. Your support will help me to continue bringing independent content and podcast that encourages listeners for greater alignment and self-awareness. I'll leave the link in the episode description. If you're watching this on a video, please let me know. Send me a message or an email if you have any preference to a horizontal or a vertical video. I would love to know and I'll appreciate your feedback. Until next Monday, pay attention not only to what you think, but how you think. If you are on YouTube, hit the subscribe button or the super thanks button. I'll be grateful. Awareness may change how you understand yourself and how you operate in the world, who you trust, and how to communicate. Until next Monday, have a conversation with yourself.